Hi, my name is Ines. I'm a developer on the InfoPath team. I will be running through a scenario to show you how you can create a SharePoint list and SharePoint fields within InfoPath Designer. The first thing we will do is pick the SharePoint list form template. Next, I'll enter a URL to a server running SharePoint 2010. So I'll go ahead and go to my site. Okay. And you'll have two options. You can customize an existing list, or you can create a new list. In our specific case, we will create a new list to track tennis players entering a tennis tournament. So I will call my new list Tennis Championships. And then I will select Finish. And this will create a customized InfoPath form for the new list that I created. And if we navigate to my SharePoint site, we will see that InfoPath has created this new list called Tennis Championships with no fields in it, only a title. The next thing I will do is I want this title field to be the name of the tennis players, so I can go ahead and rename title to name, and for consistency I'll also update the label, so we'll just make this the name, and it's a required field. In this particular scenario, we don't need attachments, so we'll just go ahead and remove those from the view. And the next thing we will add is a ranking field. So every tennis player has a ranking, and I want them to enter that information in the form. So you can use the add field UI entry point, and we will create a brand new SharePoint field called ranking. And from within InfoPath Designer, we now let you create a variety of fields. In this particular case, I will go ahead and create a number field. And I will also make it required. If you wanted, you can set additional properties like min and max, default values. But for now, I'll just make a number field required. Once the field is created, I can go ahead and drag and drop it onto my view. The next field I will add, I will add a new row we'll do below. Next field I will add is a coach. So every tennis player has a coach, and I can go ahead and add the user field by inserting from the controls gallery. You can insert any of these controls, which will be mapped to SharePoint fields on your SharePoint list. In this case, I will pick a person picker, so I'm creating a user field. It was inserted as group, but I can go ahead and update the name. I will make this my coach SharePoint field, and I will also update the label here. I will add one more field. Go to insert. I'll add a row below. Every tennis player has a sponsor. I want to have the ability for them to fill out that information when they enter data in their form. I will go ahead and add a drop-down control. So I can either create a SharePoint choice field where a user can manually enter the choices, or I can create a lookup field. I already have a sponsors list on my SharePoint site that already has all this information, so I will just create a lookup field to that sponsors list. And I will look up to the title field, essentially. Okay. And again, it comes in as field 1, but I can go rename it from the control properties. I can call this sponsor. Okay. Now that I'm finished building my simple form, I can preview it in the client to make sure that all my fields are working correctly. So this should load in a few seconds. So you can see here that I have all my fields. I have a lookup, which gets data from my sponsors list on my server. I can see that the data is being populated correctly. So everything appears to be functioning. I will close the preview form. The last thing I will do is add a title to my form. So we will call this Tennis Championships. And I will change the themes. Let's go to page design. I can pick different color schemes for my form. I'll go ahead and pick this one. This one looks pretty good. Once I'm finished building my form, where I essentially renamed one field and created 3 additional ones, I'm now ready to publish it to the server. And to do so, I will just click on the Quick Publish button in the toolbar on the top left. So this will take a few seconds to publish back to the server. Okay, now that our form is published, I can navigate to the server, and the first thing we'll do is ensure that our fields were created correctly. So I can go to the list settings, and as you see, the title field was renamed to name, and 3 fields were added: a ranking field, a coach field, and a sponsor field, lookup fields, a person field, and a number field. And now I'm essentially ready to go fill out my form on the server. If I click Add New Item, you will see the InfoPath form that we just created. And I can go ahead and fill in data. For example, I am Roger Federer, and I'm ranked number 1 in the world. Ines K is my coach, of course, and a sponsor is Nike. And I can just go ahead and submit the data back to SharePoint. And as you can see, the data gets persisted in all the columns. If I want to look at the form in the display view, it will also render a InfoPath form with all the data in it. So this wraps up the basic scenario. I showed you how to create a SharePoint list as well as very different SharePoint fields from InfoPath Designer without having to switch back between your SharePoint list and InfoPath every time. You can do everything from within InfoPath itself.